Cutting off my manipulative sister. Am I the a-hole for refusing to fund her $115,000 wedding? I, 28F, have always had a complicated relationship with my older sister Kelly, 34F. Our family dynamic was unusual from the start. Our parents, both successful lawyers, were rarely home. Dad was always at the office or in court, while Mom spent most of her time networking and maintaining the social connections vital to their practice. This left Kelly and me largely to fend for ourselves. Kelly, being 6 years older, naturally took on a caretaker role. At first, it seemed like a blessing. She'd make sure I ate, helped me with homework, and comforted me when I missed our parents. But as time went on, the line between sister and parent became blurred for Kelly, and she started exerting more and more control over my life. I remember one incident when I was about 10. I had made friends with a girl named Sarah in my class. Kelly, then 16, decided she didn't like Sarah because she thought her family was not good enough. She forbade me from hanging out with Sarah, going as far as to intercept notes we passed in class and deleting her number from my phone. When I cried and protested, Kelly said, "I'm just looking out for you, you'll understand when you're older." This pattern continued throughout my teenage years. Kelly chose my clothes, decided which extracurricular activities I could participate in, and even tried to influence my career path. She was convinced that I should become a lawyer like our parents. Despite my interest in art and design, the summer before I started high school was particularly tense. I had been accepted into a prestigious art camp, but Kelly was dead set against it. She argued that it was a waste of time and would distract me from real studies. We had a huge fight, with Kelly threatening to tell our parents I was rebelling if I insisted on going. In the end, I gave in, spending the summer doing an internship at a law firm instead. I was miserable, but Kelly was pleased, saying, "You'll thank me one day for keeping you on the right track." Despite the tension, I still looked up to Kelly in many ways. She was smart, driven, and seemed to have her life together. When I graduated high school, she convinced me to attend her alma mater. She painted a rosy picture of us living together, with her showing me the ropes of college life. In hindsight, I should have seen the red flags, but at 18, the idea of having my successful older sister guide me through college seemed appealing. Living with Kelly in college was a nightmare. Our apartment became her domain, with rules reminiscent of our childhood home. She set curfews, limited my social activities, and constantly checked on my studies. If I went out with friends, I'd return to a barrage of texts asking where I was and who I was with. Financial issues added another layer of complication. Kelly, working her first job out of college, was always short on cash. She'd borrow money from me, usually without asking. When I confronted her about a missing $200 from my wallet, she brushed it off, saying, "What's mine is yours, right? Besides, I bought groceries last week." This pattern continued, with Kelly treating my student loan money and part-time job earnings as a shared resource. Things came to a head in my junior year when I met Jake. He was a transfer student in my graphic design class, and we hit it off immediately. For the first time, I had someone who encouraged my passions and respected my decisions. Kelly hated him from the start. She would make snide comments about his appearance, question his career prospects, and imply that he was only interested in me for money, ironic, given her own behavior. Once, she even accidentally spilled wine on a project Jake and I had been working on for weeks. When Jake proposed after graduation, Kelly threw a fit. She cornered me in our apartment, ranting about how I was too young and naive to get married. "You're making a huge mistake," she yelled. "He's just trying to trap you. Don't throw away your future for some guy." That was the moment I finally stood up to Kelly. I told her that my relationship with Jake was none of her business and that I was tired of her controlling every aspect of my life. The argument got heated, with years of pent-up frustration pouring out. Kelly tried her usual tactics, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, even threatening to call our parents. But this time, I stood my ground. I moved out that week, crashing on a friend's couch until Jake and I found our own place. The distance gave me perspective on just how toxic my relationship with Kelly had been. I started therapy to work through the years of manipulation and control. Over the next few years, my relationship with Kelly remained strained. I got a good job in marketing, allowing Jake and me to start saving for a house. Kelly, on the other hand, seemed to struggle. She changed jobs frequently, complaining about unfair bosses and toxic workplaces. She'd often hint that I should help her out financially, reminding me of all she'd done for me growing up. Last month, Kelly announced her engagement to her boyfriend of 2 years, Tom. I was surprised given her previous stance on marriage, but I wished her well. A week later, she called asking for a favor. Kelly launched into a long speech about her dream wedding, describing a lavish affair that sounded more like a fairy tale than a realistic event. Then came the kicker: she wanted me to contribute $115,000 towards the wedding costs. I was stunned. $115,000 is a significant amount, especially considering Jake and I were saving for a house. When I hesitated, Kelly began her usual manipulative tactics. She talked about how she'd raised me and sacrificed her own youth for my sake. She said that as her only sister, it was my duty to help make her wedding special. Something in me snapped. Years of suppressed anger and resentment came pouring out. I told Kelly that while I appreciated what she did when we were kids, it didn't give her the right to control my life or my money. I pointed out all the times she'd taken advantage of me financially and emotionally over the years. I brought up specific incidents: the time she borrowed my entire summer job earnings to buy a designer bag, the countless times she'd belittled my career choices, and the way she'd tried to sabotage my relationship with Jake. I told her that her sacrifices were her choice, not something I'd asked for, and that they didn't entitle her to my money or compliance. As an adult, Kelly was furious. She called me selfish and ungrateful, saying I owed her for everything she'd done. She accused me of abandoning her when she needed me most and threatened to tell our parents and extended family that I was refusing to help with her wedding out of spite. That was the final straw. I told Kelly I wouldn't be contributing a cent to her wedding. Furthermore, I said I was done with her manipulation and guilt trips. I told her not to contact me again unless she was ready to apologize and change her behavior. It's been 3 weeks, and I haven't heard from Kelly directly. However, I've been bombarded with calls and messages from relatives. Apparently, Kelly has been telling everyone that I'm refusing to help with her wedding because I'm jealous of her happiness. Some family members are pressuring me to be the bigger person and reconcile with Kelly for the sake of family harmony. Despite the pressure, I'm standing firm in my decision. But I can't help wondering, am I the asshole for refusing to help with her wedding and cutting her off? Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and the situation with Kelly has escalated in ways I never expected. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments. They've been a lifeline during this challenging time. A week after my post, our parents decided to intervene. They called a family meeting to sort things out between Kelly and me. I was hesitant to attend, remembering countless family meetings from our childhood where Kelly's version of events always seemed to prevail. However, I decided it might be an opportunity to finally make my parents understand my perspective. The meeting was set for Saturday afternoon at our childhood home. When I arrived, I was surprised to find not just Kelly and our parents, but also our Aunt Linda, Mom's sister, and Uncle Bob, Dad's brother. Apparently, they were there to mediate. I immediately felt ambushed, remembering how Aunt Linda had always favored Kelly, while Uncle Bob prided himself on being the family's voice of reason. As we sat in the living room, surrounded by old family photos that seemed to mock the current tension, Mom started the conversation. She asked us both to explain our sides of the story. I took a deep breath and calmly recounted the events leading up to our falling out, including Kelly's demand for wedding money and her subsequent threats. I spoke about the years of manipulation, the financial exploitation, and the emotional toll it had taken on me. I brought up specific instances: the art camp I wasn't allowed to attend, the friends Kelly had driven away, and the constant belittling of my career choices. I explained how Kelly's controlling behavior had continued into our adult lives, culminating in her demand for wedding funds. As I spoke, I noticed Kelly's face contorting with anger and disbelief. When it was her turn to speak, she spun a completely different narrative. According to Kelly, I had always been jealous of her and resented her for being the responsible one. She painted a picture of herself as a selfless older sister, sacrificing her own youth to raise an ungrateful sibling. She claimed that she'd only asked for my help with the wedding because she wanted me to be involved, not because she needed money. Kelly brought up incidents from our childhood, twisting them to fit her narrative. The art camp became a story of her protecting me from making a mistake that would derail my future. Her control over my friendships was reframed as looking out for my best interests. She even suggested that Jake had turned me against my family, poisoning my mind with ideas of independence. As Kelly spoke, I watched our parents' faces. They seemed to soften, nodding along with her words. Aunt Linda reached out to pat Kelly's hand supportively, while Uncle Bob gave me a disapproving look. When I tried to defend myself and point out the inconsistencies in Kelly's story, I was interrupted or told I was being too emotional. Kelly kept bringing up things from our childhood, each anecdote carefully crafted to portray herself as the martyr and me as the ungrateful brat. The meeting dragged on for hours, with every attempt I made to explain my perspective shut down or dismissed. Kelly's tears, which started flowing at convenient moments, seemed to hold more weight than my words. The final straw came when our parents suggested a compromise. They proposed that instead of giving Kelly money directly, I should take charge of planning and paying for her bridal shower and bachelorette party. They framed it as a gesture of goodwill that would help mend our relationship. I was stunned. It was clear they hadn't heard a word I'd said about financial boundaries and Kelly's manipulation. Their solution was essentially to have me spend money on Kelly anyway, just in a different form. I refused. I stood my ground, telling them I wasn't going to be manipulated into spending money on Kelly's wedding events when I'd already made my position clear. This led to another round of accusations about me being selfish and not caring about family. Kelly seized this moment to deliver her grand finale. Through tears, she announced that she had always dreamed of having her little sister as her maid of honor, but now she realized that dream would never come true. It was a masterful piece of emotional manipulation, and I watched as my family fell for it hook, line, and sinker. The meeting ended with me feeling angry, betrayed, and more alone than ever. It was clear that my family had already decided I was in the wrong, regardless of what I said. Kelly had successfully painted herself as the victim, and I was cast as the villain. In the week since that disastrous meeting, the fallout has been significant. Our parents are barely speaking to me, sending only terse formal texts when absolutely necessary. I've been uninvited from several family events, including my cousin's baby shower and my uncle's retirement party. Kelly, on the other hand, is basking in the attention and sympathy she's getting. She's been posting on social media about healing from family trauma and how blood isn't always thicker than water. Each post garners hundreds of supportive comments, many from family members who now view her as some sort of wronged saint. The situation has forced me to reevaluate many of my relationships. Friends I thought I could count on have taken Kelly's side, swayed by her version of events. It's been a painful process of realizing who truly supports me and who was just waiting for an excuse to side with Kelly. Despite the pressure and the pain of being ostracized by my family, I'm standing firm in my decision. This whole situation has made me realize how dysfunctional my family dynamics are and how much Kelly's manipulation has shaped our relationships over the years. Jake has been my rock through all of this. He's helped me see that I'm not crazy for feeling the way I do and that it's okay to set boundaries with family. We're focusing on our plans to buy a house and build our future together away from the toxic influence of my family. I'm still processing everything that's happened, but I'm more convinced than ever that I made the right choice in standing up to Kelly. It's painful to be at odds with my family, but I'm not going to let them guilt me into accepting toxic behavior anymore. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first, and while it's scary, it also feels incredibly liberating. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I thought I'd share what's been happening, as it sheds new light on the situation with Kelly. About 3 weeks ago, I received a call from Tom, Kelly's fiancé. This was unusual because Tom and I have never been close. In fact, our interactions have been limited to awkward small talk at family gatherings. He usually lets Kelly handle all family communication, so when he asked if we could meet for coffee to discuss something important, I was immediately on guard. Nevertheless, curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed. We met at a small cafe downtown, away from our usual family haunts. Tom looked nervous and uncomfortable, fidgeting with his coffee cup and avoiding eye contact. After some stilted small talk about the weather and his job, he dropped a bombshell. He and Kelly had broken up, and the wedding was off. I was shocked, to say the least. Despite our issues, I had genuinely believed Kelly was happy with Tom. But as he began to explain, I realized there was much more to the story than I had known. Tom proceeded to tell me a tale that confirmed many of my worst suspicions about Kelly, while also revealing new depths to her deception. Apparently, she had been lying to him about her financial situation throughout their entire relationship. She had told him that she had substantial savings and a stable, well-paying job. In reality, she was deeply in debt and had been fired from her last 2 jobs for misconduct, specifically for misusing company funds. The wedding planning had brought everything to light. Tom discovered that Kelly had opened several credit cards in his name without his knowledge. She had been using these cards to fund her lavish lifestyle, racking up tens of thousands of dollars in debt. When he confronted her about it, she tried to guilt-trip him, saying she only did it because she wanted to give him the wedding he deserved. As Tom spoke, I felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness. His story aligned perfectly with the Kelly I knew, the master manipulator who always found a way to make her actions seem justified. But it also revealed a level of desperation in Kelly that I hadn't fully grasped before. Tom apologized to me, saying he now understood why I had refused to contribute to the wedding. He admitted that Kelly had told him I was just being selfish and jealous, and he had believed her. Now he saw the pattern of manipulation and lies that I had been trying to escape for years. After Tom left, I sat in the cafe for a long time, processing what I'd learned. I felt angry at Kelly for her deception, but also worried about her. Despite everything, she was still my sister, and it was clear she was spiraling out of control. A few days after my meeting with Tom, all hell broke loose in the family. Kelly, unable to keep the breakup secret any longer, told our parents that Tom had left her, but her version of events was predictably very different from Tom's. According to Kelly, Tom had been controlling and abusive and had left her when she stood up to him. She claimed he had lied about her using his credit cards to turn people against her. She painted herself as the victim of a cruel man who had taken advantage of her trust and generosity. I received a flurry of calls and messages from family members, all expressing sympathy for Kelly and anger towards Tom. Some even suggested that I should reconsider helping with the wedding costs so Kelly could start over after this traumatic experience. I was torn. Part of me wanted to expose Kelly's lies and finally make our family see her true nature. I had concrete evidence now, straight from Tom, of her deception and financial misdeeds. It could be my chance to clear my name and show everyone that I hadn't been wrong about Kelly all along. But another part of me knew that confronting her would only lead to more drama and pain. Kelly had proven time and time again that she was capable of twisting any situation to her advantage. If I revealed what Tom had told me, she would likely find a way to spin it against me, perhaps accusing me of colluding with her abusive ex to slander her. In the end, I decided to stay out of it. When family members called asking about the situation, I didn't confirm or deny Kelly's story. I simply said I was sorry things didn't work out and left it at that. It wasn't the most satisfying response, but it felt like the healthiest choice for my own well-being. This situation has reinforced my decision to distance myself from family drama. I've realized that Kelly's manipulation runs deep and it's not my responsibility to fix it or to make others see the truth. I'm focusing on my own life and happiness. Jake and I have put an offer on a house, and we're excited about this new chapter in our lives. It's a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood, nothing fancy, but it's ours. As we've been packing up our apartment, I've come across old photos and mementos from my life with Kelly. It's been a bittersweet experience, reminding me of the good times we had amidst all the manipulation and control. I'm also considering starting therapy again to work through some of the lingering issues from my relationship with Kelly. The revelations about her lies to Tom have brought up a lot of old feelings and memories that I thought I had dealt with. It's a difficult journey, but I'm hopeful for the future. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm learning to set boundaries, not just with Kelly, but with all my relationships. It's not easy, and there are days when I second-guess my decisions, but overall I feel like I'm on the right path. Update 3. It's been about 6 weeks since my last update, and I have some surprising news to share. Last week, I received an unexpected visitor at my workplace. It was Kelly. At first, I thought I was seeing things. Kelly had never visited me at work before, always insisting that I come to her. But there she was, standing awkwardly by the reception desk, looking nothing like her usual polished self. Kelly looked terrible, with dark circles under her eyes and a defeated expression I'd never seen on her before. Her clothes, usually impeccably styled, were wrinkled and mismatched. She asked if we could talk, and against my better judgment, I agreed to have lunch with her. We went to a small deli near my office. As we sat down with our sandwiches, I braced myself for another round of accusations or manipulation, but what happened next caught me completely off guard. Kelly broke down, not in the theatrical, attention-seeking way I was used to, but in a raw, vulnerable manner that made me deeply uncomfortable. She confessed that her life had spiraled out of control after Tom left her. She'd lost her job and was facing eviction from her apartment. She admitted to lying about Tom being abusive and said she couldn't keep up with all the lies anymore. Between sobs, Kelly told me she'd hit rock bottom and realized she needed to change. She said she'd started seeing a therapist and was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. She's been attending group therapy sessions and is on medication now. As she spoke, I found myself remembering moments from our childhood, Kelly comforting me after nightmares, teaching me to ride a bike, defending me from bullies at school. For the first time in years, I felt like I was seeing glimpses of that sister, not the manipulator she'd become. What surprised me most was when Kelly looked me in the eye and sincerely apologized for her behavior over the years. She acknowledged how she'd manipulated and hurt me and said she understood why I had cut her off. She didn't ask for money or help, just for a chance to make amends. Over time, I was skeptical at first given our history, but as we talked, I could see genuine remorse and a desire to change in Kelly's eyes. It was the first time in years that I felt like I was talking to my sister, not a stranger wearing her face. We talked for hours, going over painful memories and confronting hard truths. Kelly admitted to many things: her jealousy of my relationship with Jake, her resentment of my career success, her desperate attempts to maintain control over my life. She also shared more about her diagnosis, helping me understand some of her behavior without excusing it. I told Kelly that while I appreciated her apology, rebuilding our relationship would take time and effort on her part. I made it clear that I wasn't ready to let her back into my life fully, but I was willing to take small steps if she continued to work on herself. Since that lunch, Kelly has respected my boundaries. She sends me short, respectful texts updating me on her therapy progress, but doesn't push for more contact than I'm comfortable with. It's a small thing, but it gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, real change is possible. Last week, she sent me a photo of a painting she'd done in art therapy. It was a picture of 2 little girls holding hands, clearly meant to be us. The gesture touched me more than I expected. I'm still proceeding with caution, and Jake and I are maintaining firm boundaries, but for the first time in a long while, I feel cautiously optimistic about the possibility of having a healthier relationship with my sister in the future. This experience has taught me a lot about the complexity of family dynamics and the possibility of change. While I'm not forgetting the past, I'm cautiously open to the possibility of a different future. Only time will tell how things will unfold, but for now, I'm taking it one day at a time.